Hello and welcome to the first stop on the Water Action Platform tour. We are in wintry, cold South Africa. We must start by thanking our wonderful sponsors. We're delighted to announce that 3 new sponsors have joined the Water Action Platform: SAEV, WSP and Arege. SAEV is the Energy Ventures investment arm of Saudi Aramco, and they have a particular interest in water technologies. WSP is a global engineering consultancy firm with a particular strength in developing sustainable engineering solutions, and Arege specialises in the production of breakthrough technologies for the treatment of municipal and industrial sludges. The ongoing support is absolutely vital. It's what enables us at the Water Action Platform to have a forum for water sector collaboration across international boundaries, and it enables us to be open to all and free at the point of use. So thank you, sponsors, and welcome to the new sponsors. Since Piers isn't here, I'm going to take the chance to talk about him. I'd like to announce that he was named as an award winner by the International Water Association for creating this very platform. The award was announced at the 2021 IWA Digital World Water Congress last Friday, and here's Piers in the virtual award ceremony.
Thank you for this award. The Water Action Platform today serves something like 800 organisations covering 92 countries, from the high-income ones to the low-income ones. It is the water industry collaborating and working together at its best. And this award is a wonderful recognition of that, and my thanks go to everybody in the ISLE team who's been instrumental in pulling together the anecdotes and stories which we share on the platform, and also to our sponsors, the organisations who spotted what we were trying to do and were prepared to make a commitment, a financial commitment to facilitate this happening. The water industry has really stepped up with the pandemic. We have been able across the world to keep the taps flowing and the toilets flushing. And that has been an incredible achievement from the water sector. And I am delighted that the Water Action Platform has perhaps played a tiny part in encouraging that collaboration. Thank you so much.
Now, last Wednesday, 9th of June, we went to Valencia in Spain for a live virtual tour of Idrica's digital twin, based on the GoAgua technology. It was absolutely amazing. So if you missed it, I strongly recommend you grab a cup of coffee and invest half an hour in watching the recording. The tour has been watched over 200 times, and it's available to view on the Water Action Platform at this link. The link will be circulated with these slides following the webinar. And I'd like to say a huge thank you to the whole team at Idrica. Our first story on COVID-19 and water is a step away from wastewater-based epidemiology as an early warning system alone. Sludge can be used to estimate the RE, the effective reproductive number of the virus. The RE is something that's used to track disease dynamics, to estimate the effectiveness of interventions, and to cause lockdowns to be imposed or lifted. The RE is normally estimated from clinical case data, but this can be affected by changes in things like testing and reporting methods. This preprint shows that measurements of SARS-CoV-2 RNA in wastewater can be used to estimate RE, as well as using cases. This particular example is from San Jose in Santa Clara County in California. This graph on the bottom right corner is the one to focus on. The dark lines in blue, green and yellow indicate the RE estimated using RNA concentrations of 3 different genes, the N, S and ORF1A genes respectively. The purple line shows the RE using confirmed cases, and the broad pale coloured bands show the 95% confidence interval, and they indicate that there was no significant difference in the RE estimations made using wastewater indications or using the numbers of cases. This means that the RE estimates from wastewater are just as good as the RE estimates from case numbers, and they're available earlier. And this also means we can use this method for other pathogens, including those for which we don't have clinical data because they're just not available. In other water news, exposure to chlorinated water inactivates SARS-CoV-2. We know chlorine works on viruses, so it's not a total surprise, but this is the first direct evidence of deactivation of infectious SARS-CoV-2 in recreational water. Looking at swimming pool water, samples were taken to a laboratory by these scientists and spiked with SARS-CoV-2. Then, Successive experiments were performed with varying the free chlorine levels, top left, varying the pH, top right, varying both the range of pH and the free chlorine on the bottom left, and an independent preparation of virus at a range of different pH and chlorine levels on the bottom right. And the bottom line is what it shows us is that a pH of around 7.4 and free chlorine above 1.5 parts per million resulted in at least a 3 log reduction in the virus, and that's what the swimming pool water standards are. So, bottom line is it's safe to jump in the pool, but this is really aimed at people in the Northern Hemisphere where it's summer because it is way too cold here. Moving in now to our update on variants of SARS-CoV-2 and vaccines, we have our usual update. At the end of May, the World Health Organization finally agreed upon an easy-to-use variant naming system, so I've updated our table using these new names. The current systems, like the Pango names that I've been using until now, will remain in use in research, but you should start to see changes in the mass media, I hope. What's a VOI and a VOC? VOIs, or variants of interest, are variants with mutations that are suspected but not yet proven to be important for transmission, for severity, or for immune evasion. We're keeping an eye on them, but we don't have strong evidence that the changes are important. A VOC, or a variant of concern, is a VOI that's moved from being merely suspicious to having firm evidence of increased transmissibility, severity, or immune evasion. So here's the update on the vaccines table since the last month. As always, the peach colour is the new information since our last update. The WHO approved a 15th vaccine, the Coronavac, for emergency use on the 1st of June around the world. If we look at the ones we've been tabling, Pfizer works against the Delta variant, the Indian variant, and gives good protection, and it's effective against hospital admission and death. Moderna also works against Delta, and the booster works against Beta. In fact, Moderna is working well against all the variants of concern for at least 6 months. It's important to note that the study is only 6 months long, meaning that the Moderna vaccine protection likely lasts longer, and this is great news. Covaxin, the AstraZeneca vaccine manufactured in India, works well against Alpha and Delta in the real world, and most of these new data now come from real-world examples, not clinical trials any longer. I've also added a new column on natural infection, so what protection does having COVID-19 give you against future reinfection? I've been waiting for more reinfection data to be published. There are data now, and there's also a World Health Organization scientific brief on natural immunity. It turns out about 80 to 99% of people that have recovered from COVID-19 have antibodies that last for at least 4 weeks. However, this doesn't mean that they're protected from disease, especially from new variants. Natural infection and natural immune responses are not very targeted, so they tend to be quite messy. Natural infection gives 80% protection from reinfection with the same variant in the 18 to 65s, and it only provides about 50% protection for those over 65 years of age. Some people have that protection for 8 months and maybe longer, but others lose their natural immunity within a few weeks, and we don't yet know why it varies from person to person, so we can't predict if you've had COVID-19 which one you will be. Natural antibodies don't work very well against new variants, so if you caught COVID-19 in the first wave, you can catch it again in the second wave, especially if the predominant variant in your area is Beta or Gamma. And in particular, mild infection doesn't seem to work against reinfection, especially with Beta and Gamma. So remember, if you've recovered from COVID-19, it's still recommended that you get the vaccine when you can, because it gives you a stronger response for a longer time. It's better protection against variants of concern because the vaccines are designed to accommodate those, and your immune response is more targeted than a natural immune response from infection alone. We now come to our sector expert section, and this month I'm happy to welcome Rithva Muhlbauer, Principal Hydrologist at Thungela Resources. Today's theme is the water, energy and food security nexus. In recent years, there's been growing understanding of the fact that each one of these securities requires the presence of the others. The nexus approach identifies future systems as inherently interconnected and aims to highlight the potential synergies and identify critical conflicts to be dealt with. Ritva is going to describe how a single project can have a huge positive impact by deconflicting all three. The project used water from a coal mine approaching closure to irrigate local farmland, resulting in increased food production and productive sustainable use of the water from the old mine voids. Here's Ritva.
Thanks, Jo, for the introduction, and I'm delighted to share this project with you. This is the irrigation trial at Thungela, South African Mafube colliery site, and it's a project that we're using to investigate whether mine-affected gypsiferous water can be used to irrigate crops successfully in the long term. So this is a collaborative project between the regulator, which includes the Department of Water and Sanitation, Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, as well as the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, and a number of mining companies, specifically coal mining, and the community of which the farmer is the member, as well as the University of Pretoria, which adds the rigor to the scientific rigor to this project to ensure that we maintain objective views. So there's a number of benefits that are associated with this project, and obviously the elimination of long-term post-closure water management liabilities is one of them, particularly for the mining industry as well as government. Government alone sits with in excess of 500 megalitres a day of mine water, of which 200 megalitres a day can be found at the South African Witwatersrand Basin alone. And that would translate into a cost of 10 billion South African rands in terms of capex, and 15 rand a cube of treated water. And most of that cost would obviously fall to the taxpayer. The other benefits are around the provision of water to farmers in an extensively water-stressed catchment. South Africa is a water security, water-stressed country. And then obviously there's the potential for community involvement post-closure by creating job opportunities and through the use of irrigated mine water. So in the left-hand corner of this slide, you'll see a map of the site where we've been running this trial. The blue line depicts the pipeline that we're using to convey the mine water, which is stored in 3 of the voids, which are highlighted in yellow. And the pipeline then transfers this water to 2 pivots, pivot 1 and 2, which are depicted in red. In the center of the slide, you'll see a table of the water quality that's associated with the void water. And you'll see it's generally pH neutral with an elevated sulfate concentration, which obviously indicates mine impact. There are no metals in this water, so from a food security point of view, and this is what the University of Pretoria would obviously analyze for, we don't have food safety issues. If you look at the top right-hand corner, you can see that in summer we do obviously have rainfall precipitation, but we do still supplement with irrigation mine water. And then in winter, we are solely reliant on the mine impacted water for irrigation to produce the crops. The project allows us to do summer and winter cropping because we have access to water in winter. And we've run the trials using white maize as the summer crop and stewling rye as the winter crop. Stewling rye is cattle fodder, so we were definitely making sure that we weren't ending up with any food safety issues, because we were then placing the cows on the fields for grazing. In terms of yields, we could definitely demonstrate that irrigation with mine water had a positive impact on the yields. We were getting in the region of 13 tons per hectare compared to dry land at 5.4 tons, which resulted in an incredibly happy farmer. And you could see this in the revenue that was generated compared to the loss that he encountered doing dry land cropping. So from a benefit point of view, we could demonstrate acceptance from the government, farmers, the mining, and the community. And we showed that we could reduce the pollution into natural water systems, because now we're obviously using the water as a beneficial use and controlling it and managing it on site. We ended up with significant reduction in water treatment costs and potentially long-term closure liabilities, as well as providing water security during drought periods. We also can demonstrate that we can reduce the need for imported agricultural goods depending on the crops that we would be planting. And wheat in South Africa would be one of those, as that is an import product, and we can plant that in winter, given the fact that we can use mine water for irrigation. It also provides employment opportunities for emerging farmers. And this ties into one of the bigger projects that we've developed within the mining industry and Thungela specifically, which we call of issues around closing mines and ensuring that we address the community and socioeconomic needs in the areas when we close the mines. And irrigation with mine water and the development of agricultural scenarios around that obviously allow for job opportunities and employment of the agricultural and the communities in that area. We're obviously ensuring that we develop appropriate guidelines around using the irrigation of mine water as a tool. And the university has developed a dynamic site-specific irrigation water quality tool, which then assesses the water quality on its suitability for irrigation of crops. We ensure that we've implemented the correct monitoring requirements so that we don't show any environmental impacts. And we then have thresholds for action where we obviously stop irrigating if we do show impacts around the environmental monitoring boreholes. This project obviously also addresses a number of sustainable development goals, and they're listed below to show that we have a positive impact in terms of those as well. So this is the irrigation team that has been responsible for the implementation of this project, and in the following clip, we'll see the end result on site and hear from my team members, Ingrid Satoli and Zama Manchali. Thank you very much for your attention. Sustainability is a critical element in how Anglo-American can operate as a good corporate citizen. It impacts on how we do business in the long term and how we achieve our social license to operate.
In 2016, Mafube Coal embarked into an irrigation project which was meant to demonstrate the irrigation concept using mine water.
For Anglo-American, it reduces our long-term water liability. From a farming and a community perspective, it provides a waste to resource asset which enhances food production and allows income to be produced by communities that have no access to this before.
This is wastewater from the pit. This is the wastewater from the pit. They are all being transported by this pipeline all the way to Void 3.
This project is a win-win scenario for all parties involved.
It will be linked to our social labor plan and it will assist us to comply.
Once we prove the concept and we can use the mine water, they can then start looking at planting other stuff.
Yeah.
This project has created various partnerships with the communities, the farmers, as well as the authorities.
The biggest challenge that we faced was putting together the stakeholders that had to be a part of the project. And the best way that we could win this challenge was to ensure that there's proper communication and regular meetings, also site visits that had to be taken in order to make each and every stakeholder interested in the project.
There's been vast growth, which we can see going a long time into the future, which will increase our stakeholder engagement, empower the communities that we are working in, as well as create confidence with the authorities.
What makes this project so special is that the government has been looking into small-scale farming. And this project, as we get to mine closure of each mine, it can actually enhance each and every area to be listed out in terms of meeting the requirements for small-scale farming.
This project doesn't only apply to Anglo-American coal, and not even just Anglo-American, but the mining industry as a whole. We're currently working with government to determine and set out national irrigation guidelines using mine water, so that ultimately we can use this across the country for all of the mining industry where applicable, so that we open doors for more farming activities and community input.
Even when all of us have left the mine, people are still going to be benefiting due to the potential and the vastness and the scale of the project.
Thank you, Rithva. As Rithva noted there, we're in uncharted territory, trying to find holistic approaches for the post-mining world in which the move away from fossil fuels gives us opportunities to use water productively and provides food security. This isn't easy. It's not something individual companies can do alone, as you saw from the list of partners involved in this particular project. We need to share learning across sectors so that everybody in the water sector, mining and agriculture can benefit. If you'd like to know more or would like to be connected directly to Rithva, please let me or Megan know. Now we come to our technology showcase section, and we're staying with the water, energy and food security nexus. We have a homegrown African technology which addresses all three aspects. We're heading down now to the Western Cape, to Cape Town, and we're going to hear from Impact Free Water. Simon Wijnberg's master's project at the University of Cape Town sought to design a system that could capture wave energy. His Wave Energy Reverse Osmosis Pump, or WEROP, collects seawater, filters it through the sandy seashore, and then delivers it onto land. As explained in this next video, Impact Free Water have demonstrated they can provide seawater under enough pressure to push it through a reverse osmosis membrane, to generate power, and to provide lower quality water than RO, but good enough for agriculture, for food production. Simon and Anton will explain.
Thanks, Joe, for the introduction. Today I'm going to speak to you about Impact Free Water's reverse osmosis pump, the WEROP. So our pump uses wave energy directly to pump seawater. By pre-filtering the water that enters into the pumps, we reduce the wear and tear on the system and pump the water at high pressure to the shore. This water then can be used to generate power, produce water through an RO system, which can then be used for agriculture and also for pumping high volumes of pre-filtered water for the purposes of land-based mariculture. We believe that this system is the most environmentally friendly system, and we are confident that it'll be earning a lot of carbon credits as it gets deployed around the world. So the system, which you can see at the bottom being the engine of the entire system, pumps pre-filtered, pressurized water into a number of potential areas where it can produce fresh water through an RO system and of various qualities for either bottling water, municipal water, or agricultural water, or the high volumes of seawater can be pumped into a mariculture farm. The pressure can be used to generate electricity through a turbine. And of course, at the end of the day, we can recover the salts.
The oceans are an untapped source of both water and energy. This clip shows Impact Free Water's unique solution to extract these from the oceans. This excerpt shows the T3 unit being lowered into the water adjacent to the harbour wall prior to being deployed offshore. This is the wave pump in action, with a diver inspecting the fulcrum and then swimming up the arm towards the buoy. The insert shows what is happening in the water. The T3 has a diameter of 5.2 meters. The T10, a scaled-up version of the T3, will have a diameter of approximately 8.2 meters. Every vertical movement creates pressurized flow through the simple positive displacement pump system. The arm is able to swing around the base, aligning to the prevailing waves. Thus, the wave energy is used most efficiently, minimizing wear and tear on the system. The pressure shown is 63 bars, ideal for the attached RO system. The system pumps seawater ashore at high pressure, which can be used directly, singly or in combination, to pump high volumes of low-pressure seawater for mariculture, to generate electricity, or to produce fresh water by feeding the pressurized water through a reverse osmosis unit. For this demonstration, we constrained the pump at 3 liters per minute, split between fresh water of 1.25 liters and 1.6 liters of brine, the maximum that this RO unit could handle. There is only a drop of 3 bars across the RO membrane, allowing the remaining pressure to be utilized for other purposes. Electricity-free drinking water from the sea. The wave energy pump allows seawater desalination, high-volume seawater, or electricity as outputs using only wave energy. If you're looking for a reliable source of renewable energy, look no further than the immense power of the oceans. Suns set, winds die, but waves live on in concentrated energy 24/7.
The system itself has been tested on more than one occasion. This particular unit that you see going into the water in Simonstown off the Cape Town harbour coastline has been in the water for 10 years, but we did have water units prior to that. We've managed to achieve in excess of 100 bars, though it's only necessary to produce between 60 and 80 bars for reverse osmosis. That seems to be the best pressure for that, which we can obviously do quite easily. We removed this unit in very good nick, and we estimate, based on the longevity of the system, that it should give us 30 to 40 years of working life. The WEROP itself offers various different sizes and for different wave regimes. When we need greater quantities of water to be pumped, we simply put more pumps into the sea and join them up to the main pipeline, which we would use to carry the water to shore. So we can expand very easily by adding pumps to the system. We can work with any RO unit to make any grade of water. As I've mentioned, it is very environmentally friendly, and we try to make sure that we create an environment offshore. It creates an artificial reef, which is actually friendly for the ocean life. The system should be able to last, as mentioned, for up to 40 years, and it manages to reduce the overall maintenance through the pre-filtration system that we have patented. We reduce the running costs by anywhere between 20 and 40% by removing the electricity as a requirement for pumping water. In fact, electricity becomes a byproduct rather than a necessary input. The users of the system are off-grid communities where we can produce both water and electricity for them if they're too far from a national grid or they're on an island. Coastal agriculture and mariculture, any form of coastal industry, in fact, and anywhere it's required. And in summary, the direct wave power that we use enables desalination to be done a lot cheaper than using electricity through our renewable energy 24/7 wave energy system, locally produced in South Africa, and we hope that we will manage to grow it internationally through proving our case to the rest of the community. Thank you very much. These are our contact details. Please feel free to get hold of us.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you, Anton. Impact-Free Water has shown that their system is suitable for almost any coastal community. So if you want any more information or you want a direct introduction to the guys, just let us know. Now, and finally, my last statement for this month is buzz off COVID. When we think about training animals to complete tasks, it usually involves mammals. We use dogs as service dogs. In fact, we've used dogs as sniffer dogs for COVID-19. We use pigs to find truffles, and we use dolphins to find undersea mines. But some insects are trainable too. Insect Sense is a startup that uses bees to detect mineral-rich ore and tell humans where they are. And they've partnered with 2 universities to work on a similar system for COVID-19. You harness bees and train them to seek COVID-19 by rewarding them with sugar water whenever they identify it, and then you let them go. Free-flying bees will go out and find COVID-19 infections in livestock and in wild animals, and it's likely to become a very fast and low-cost method of finding COVID-19 in domestic animals, avoiding culls like the Danish mink cull that we had to have last year. With that, we come to the end of this month's webinar. Thanks once again to our amazing sponsors and our contributors for this month. Next month, the Water Action Platform on tour makes its next stop in the Asia-Pacific region, where Yang Villa will focus on nature-based solutions in that region. We hope you'll join us on the 22nd of July. In the meantime, keep asking questions, keep sharing, and keep safe. Goodbye.